representatives appointed by the county executive and confirmed by the county council to advise on matters involving agriculture and agricultural land preservation. We review and recommend on issues relating to existing and prospective agricultural easements. Additionally, we make recommendations to the county regarding agricultural zoning issues and other issues relating to agriculture. Self-introductions by board members and their farming affiliation. My name is John Merriman, and I raise corn and soybeans in northern Baltimore County.
Steve Meyer, dairy feeder calves, Whitehall, Maryland.
Holly Gilmore, equine, Baltimore County.
I'm Megan Benjamin, staff. We're still waiting for another board member to join, but we do have a quorum with 3, and Scott Welsh is not attending as he is recusing himself from the one issue this evening.
And I'm Joseph Wiley, also staff.
First order of business.
And for the record, begging your indulgence, sir, Nancy West from the County Law Office, advisor to the board. Thank you, sir.
Okay, the first order of business will be the approval of minutes for March 10th, 2021. You've all had a chance to take a look at them. Is there any additions or corrections?
Move to accept the minutes as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye opposed, same sign. Okay, are there any addition or deletions of agenda items? Megan?
No, nothing new.
Okay. There are no mouth easement landowner requests. So we'll move on to the Baltimore County easement landowner request for this evening. Raymond and Sandra Frank have requested a board review and approval of a parking area expansion to 2 acres for day-to-day operation of their farm brewery. I would defer to Megan for more information or explanations.
Sure. Thanks, John. I know we have a number of attendees on the meeting tonight. So first I will announce the process for comment. Has Brenda joined, Joe? Yeah. We'll let her get in here.
Brenda, is this you?
Yeah, I'm here.
You can introduce yourself real quick.
Oh, Brenda Stromer, Stromer's Farm, Woodstock, Maryland.
Okay, very good. So as I was saying, I know that we have a number of attendees on the meeting tonight. So I first want to announce the process for commenting on the items. We have received 6 sets of written comments from multiple parties, neighbors primarily, and other interested parties ahead of the meeting. And your comments have been distributed to the board members in advance. If you have comments that were not captured in the submitted written comments, you can, in WebEx, in the chat function, you can submit brief comments to the host. For the board, please include your name, address, and relationship to the project, and your comments. So just to give background on this item. So Raymond and Sandra Frank own the property at 2800 Moncton Road, and it is subject to a Baltimore County agricultural easement that was purchased from the Franks in 2002. In 2017, the Franks sought to operate a farm brewery, a Class 8 farm brewery specifically, and the use at this location is governed by state law for the Class 8 farm brewery and requires a special exception approval through county zoning. Since there is a county agricultural easement on the property, there are also restrictions associated with the easement. In 2017, the Franks came to the Ag Board Seeking approval of this use, the Ag Board evaluated the request based on the terms of the easement, the MALF guidelines for requested uses of land, which I'll refer to as the guidelines, and which the county uses in relation to county easements as well. The minutes from 2017 were included in your packets, but to summarize, the board did approve the Class 8 farm brewery operation, subject to the criteria listed in the minutes. And the minutes reflect that the parking to be used would accommodate 35 spaces with handicap parking as well. Subsequent to the 2017 Ag Board approval, the Franks were granted the special exception and began operating. At some point, the pervious parking area expanded out from the existing 35 spaces, expanded out into what had been the paddocks area. And you can see on the next slide, please, this expansion. So the 2017 aerial on the left, and then the 2020 aerial on the right. You can see the expansion of that parking area. The request before the board this evening is a request by the Franks to expand the day-to-day parking area to 2 acres. Again, the board is guided by the easement and the guidelines, which were part of the board packet that was sent out in advance. I will point specifically to a couple parts of the guidelines. On page 1, the second bullet, the board in this case must determine if any request for a use or activity conflicts with the overall purpose of the easement to preserve the farm for agricultural use and as open space land. And I'll also point out specifically to, on page 3, the prerequisite requirements, numbers 7 and 8, that the permitted uses must not interfere with agricultural or silvicultural operations currently or impacting the ability for those operations in the future. In reviewing the Franks' request for the expansion of parking to 2 acres, the staff considered these guidelines, the easement, and the impact of the parking increasing to 2 acres of the property. We also consulted with the Department of Public Works, who gave us an estimate that an acre would be able to accommodate 148 parking spaces, which is quite an increase over the 35 that are currently approved. And so the 2 acres would increase that by 8 times the current amount that is approved. I'll also point to number 9 in the prerequisite requirements in the guidelines, that any requested uses that are permitted or approved under these guidelines shall be limited in scale to those appropriate to the size and location of the property, with consideration given to surrounding land uses, and shall be considered on a case-by-case basis by the board. And so given all of this, as well as the comments that were submitted in advance that are impacting the surrounding neighborhood and not supportive of an increase in parking, staff is not comfortable recommending the increase to 2 acres. The staff recommendation that is included in the board packet is a motion that if the board, after hearing all that is shared this evening, if the board feels that the information tonight that the expansion of the parking meets the requirements as outlined, and most notably focusing on the impact to the current and future agricultural operations of the farm, and number 9 as just read, the motion that was provided as a recommended motion also recognizes the fact that other approvals are necessary for any actual expansion and is conditioned on those approvals being granted. I will also note that this is a complicated matter, complicated by the other approvals that are required for any expansion to actually occur, and that the matter is currently The administrative law judge's opinion that was issued is in the process of an appeal. So with all of that, I guess I will give it back to the board if you have any questions for staff or. Oh, sure. Just one more slide if we go forward. So the Frank's request. So first, the 35 originally and currently approved parking spaces are outlined in blue, which you can see close to the building on the slide. The red area is approximately the location that the Franks are requesting as an expansion to 2 acres. And the 1 acre that staff is proposing, if the board chooses to make that recommendation to expand to 1 acre, the staff has outlined an area that encompasses approximately 1 acre, as you can see there. So now I'll turn it over to the board, and if you can.
Okay, we're ready to open it up for comments or from the Franks, hear from the Raymond and Sandra Frank first. Is that next order of business then?
Sure, if you have any questions for me, or you can.
I asked the board if they had any questions.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't hear any. Are there any questions from the board for Megan?
This is Steve. I've got a couple issues in reading through the material that may not fall under our purview completely. But there's still an issue that something needs to happen to correct them. Couple on the petition we received as a backup, couple people were complaining about taxing the road, like Marco Road. It was getting too much traffic on it to the point they couldn't even pull in their driveway. And then they also mentioned how they must have done a head count for an event. It was over 500 people. So again, that's not really, what's up here tonight is the expansion of the parking. That's our purview, and if it is what it says, yeah, there's going to be a need for more parking as their farm becomes more successful with the brewery.
What I just told Steve. I said, Steve, the only thing we have to look at tonight is the size of the parking lot. That's our only request tonight.
Okay.
So, is there any other questions from the board?
Hi, this is Brenda. My question is, what if, whatever we decide to do, what is the penalty, I guess, if they don't adhere by what we decided? That makes any sense.
I'm not sure, a penalty for increasing the parking lot size, even if we tell them not to, or I'm not sure what your
Or if
question
we give
is.
them an acre, they take 3 or 4 acres.
I'm sorry, Brenda, you broke up a little bit so that I couldn't hear you, but I think that you're asking
Oh.
what's the penalty if they are not adhering to what they are required to adhere to?
Yeah, if, say we vote to give them an acre and they go ahead and they take 2 acres or 3 acres, even though we only gave them an acre.
Well, I guess I'm not prepared to answer that this evening. We are in consultation with our law office, and so I don't have an exact answer for that right now. they would be. You know, there are multiple pieces to this. One part is the Ag Board's approval and look at it, and the other part is what they are required to adhere to by zoning and the special exception.
Okay.
So
thank you.
the Ag Board's, you know, review of this is a very narrow scope of what we're looking at as the Ag Board.
Okay, any more questions before we open the floor up? From the board, any questions from the board?
It's just the board that's on the line, right?
No, there's a number of attendees that are watching but not necessarily able to comment by out loud, but we are looking at comments in the chat and we can share those as we progress. There is a, so we can hold those comments that we're getting in until
Okay,
hear from the Franks, or we can,
I think it's time to hear from the Raymond and Sandra Frank. We open the floor up to them.
Hello?
There we go.
Yes, I've been blocked all this time. Are you there?
we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of, I don't want to say shocked, but I'm very disheartened because we went to the board with all this. We came to the board in 2018 for the approval library, which the board approved. At that time, we provided a site plan with the iteration that the zoning plan was presented later with the hearing, and we were accepted by the law judge. The plan included information that explained where the brewery and tasting room would be, and the plan where the parking lot and the labeled paddocks that we would use for parking. The board visited the property, and I showed them everything and the plans, including the fact that we would be using the paddocks for parking as needed, and everybody was okay with that. As indicated, the board, approved everything as it was presented at that time. So we went ahead and did, because we were completely approved. I mean, last year we were kind of surprised that we learned of a concern expressed by our parking situation. Attention got drawn to the plan itself, and we did not include a specific delineation to the overall area to be utilized for parking. But so today we're going to we just show the 2-acre where parking can occur on a regular basis, and keep in mind that those, what some people say, very busy days is on a sunny Saturday, and people are forgetting that. I mean, we have all winter where we have nobody here. We have the past couple Saturdays have been, COVID related, busy. But then on a Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, we don't even begin to use any of that. But on a Saturday, yeah, we do use those 2 acres. But the agenda today suggests that we're seeking expansion, but we don't view it that way at all. We're just clarifying what was already approved in our 2018 parking lot plus paddocks by having that exhibit that expressly showed that, which you guys accepted. We understand that this is a 2-acre request and is routinely requested by the Ag Board, and we hope that it is recognized as the same here. We also understand that the 2 acres is permitted for our regular parking, but we've always been told that for our events, it's been very clear that we get 8 events a year where we can use extended parking. But for these regular business days, we are subject to 2 acres of parking, which we have said many times that we're happy to do that. And like I say again, I mean, people all people are doing is looking at the bad, what they consider the bad days on those sunny Saturdays. You know, a day like today, we would have had 5 people here. You know, we created this business. People love it. It's, you know, Hogan and Johnny O are pushing farm ag tourism, ag tourism, ag tourism. We did something that people love, and we feel very, it's just a shame that people are trying to create us to be these monsters when, and like I said, it's a sunny Saturday when we're like this. We are a farm. We raise 600 hop plants. We raise 15 acres of barley. We have 60 head of Black Angus cattle.
And it's all families come here.
And we only have families. And to have somebody try to make us out to be these monsters that are going to take up all this extra parking or do this or do that, or how are we going to penalize them? I don't want anybody to penalize us. I want people to feel like, you know, yeah, they use that a couple, God, maybe what, 15 times on a Saturday in a year. You know, and now we're talking about COVID. The past couple Saturdays, it's been tough. I mean, 40 vineyards stopped all their, nobody under 21 can come there. And, you know, it's just, we're.
If it was a rainy Saturday, we wouldn't have anyone.
So anyway, that's where we are.
Do you want to open it up to other comments now, or?
If the board does not have any questions, excuse me, for the Franks, I can read comments that we are receiving. I believe this first comment is from Michael McCann. In light of the zoning case, which limited the parking to the original 35 plus or minus spaces, can the board grant any additional parking area without running counter to zoning approval? Nancy, I don't know if you can weigh in on a question like this. If not, I will. You're on mute if you are speaking up.
Yeah, no. And what specific question? Can you bring that up onto the screen, that particular filing? I know that you received something late last night and something this morning.
So this is a question that came through on the chat. I don't think we can bring it up on the screen. The question is, in light of the zoning case, which limited the parking to the original 35 plus or minus spaces, can the board grant any additional parking area without running counter to zoning approval?
Well, all I can say is that apparently Judge Mayhew issued an opinion back in January of this year, a very detailed opinion, 20 pages long, that is currently on appeal to the County Board of Appeals. And it's, as I understand, it's a de novo appeal, meaning they're going to get to come in and address the board on all these issues. And that's currently scheduled for June. So I think certainly zoning is an overarching concern here. And obviously parking would be related to that. So what this board does with regard to whether it approves or disapproves or takes it under advisement, you know, I don't know. And I don't know that I would want to opine as to the effect or what the impact's going to be on what the board might do. I mean, that would be presumptuous on my part, and people are going to have their day in court, so to speak, to address those issues. So I think it's best left to them.
Okay. Next comment from Lester Leung. This is all part of the purview of the Ag Advisory Board because the owners have consistently disregarded restrictions already put in place. Community members would like to know who will hold owners accountable for not following restrictions. Also, from the same person, the current operation is not a success because it is in violation of many guidelines and above all, the preservation of land. The current 2021 photos show a great deal of pastures being turned into blacktop. Why are these photos not being used instead of 2020 photos?
Well, once again, these are a lot of issues that go to fact-specific, you know, dates and times of alleged irregularities or non-compliance with the terms of the easement. Obviously, if that was brought to the county's attention, we would take a look at that like any other easement. I mean, people have problems with critical areas easement, they go to the environmental office. If they have problems with the ag requests, they're going to go to whatever agency would review that. In this case, probably the planning office. And we really, it's the terms of the easement, conditions of the easement will control as to whether or not there's been a violation, and we would look at that closely and make a determination. There are any number of avenues we would have for compliance. Ultimately, the county's looking to work with the property owner to bring them into compliance. So I wouldn't, once again, want to opine as to what we could do or might do. There's a lot of different alternatives we have as far as compliance is concerned. And I think it would be, once again, premature and inappropriate for me as counsel to the board to opine as to what that might be.
A comment or question from Michael McCann. The 2 acres is what is before the board, but doesn't the board give some consideration to the numerous violations of the parking area in the past, specifically hundreds of cars parked on dozens and dozens of occasions? From Lester Leung again, zoning and ag advisory board were clear about limiting parking to 35 spaces. 2800 Moncton Road was not given any extra parking. Michael McCann, Ms. Frank's point that she is just clarifying her request to use all of the paddocks has been rejected by the ALJ and Mr. Wiley in correspondence. As the ALJ found, the transcript from 2017 does not support her assertion. From Mark Daschel, please read aloud all of the comments. Yes. Written comments received. The written comments are quite extensive. They have been provided to the board. We would be here all evening if I read all of them, but they will be part of the record, and the board has received all of the written comments. All of the comments, the 6 sets of comments that we received were all in opposition to any increase in the parking. From Whitney Christmas, 1 acre of cars only applies on blacktop with lines. When parking in a field, this would be reduced by at least 25%, and at least 30% of the people come to be on the farm with their family and friends to get out in the beautiful area and do not buy anything from the Franks. COVID has made this a problem, not the Franks. People have nothing better to do. Lastly, I have lived here all my life. I am 63. The amount of traffic coming from Harford County going to Hunt Valley is 10 times worse than the brewery. From Mark Daschel, meaning the pre-submitted written comments, which I had just addressed. From Lester Leung, where are the crops in the photos? Where are the cattle? Who is overseeing farm brewery to ensure that in fact the farmer is actually farming crops that produce beer sold? Agricultural land preservation is to preserve agricultural land, not turn pastures into parking without any evidence that the farmers are actually farming. From Chris Mudd, agritourism is a big part of the county's goals and should be considered by the Ag Board. Also, the board is to consider whether this expansion interferes with the ag operations on site. It will not be used day to day for the regular farming operations. There are 100 acres of land. This is very small. And also from Chris Mudd, the farm hay and hops. They farm hay and hops and raise cattle. Ask the Franks about it. Those are the comments we've received. Do the Franks want to comment on their farming operations on the rest of the farm?
Yeah, are you there?
Yes.
Yeah, we're kind of shocked that somebody wouldn't think we're a farm. We have, last year we did over 200 acres of hay. We have another farm down the street. We have 60 head of Black Angus cattle. I was out calving today. We did 15 acres of barley. We have 600 hop plants. We're one of the only breweries around to have an all farm beer. We raise our barley and our hops. I mean, we're full. And the gentleman before that said there's all these paved lots. That's not true. There's, I mean,
Pervious.
it's pervious. We haven't paved anything, but if somebody's not seeing all the cows, I mean, we're a farm. I mean, I 2 years ago, I mean, until this started, I had, 2 acres of sweet corn. I sell sweet corn out at the end of the driveway. I mean, we're a full-fledged farm, and this is needed. I want to do something to pay the $22,000 a year property tax, and the board was out here, and I explained all this to them, and they approved it. I would have never, ever done what I've done if they would not have approved me. I mean, it's a farm. We're just the first one in Baltimore County. It was, it's people, I guess maybe they didn't know what to expect, but we're on 100 acres. We're not on 2 acres. We're not on 5 acres. We're on 100. And we're still considered, we keep the place beautiful. We're not doing anything to anybody. Yeah, there's been a couple Saturdays when the traffic's been busier than normal, but we also checked into a traffic study. There's more cars that go up and down the road from commuting from Hunt Valley to Hartford County on Marco Road than on a Saturday. And we did look into that traffic study. So, it's we're just working ourselves like crazy just to make this something beautiful. We've been told by a million people that you are the best farm brewery in Baltimore, in the state of Maryland.
We contacted Baltimore County about the traffic on Marco Road. They came out, put 2 new 30-mile-an-hour speed limit signs, and everybody says, "Oh, you need a line down the middle of the road." You do not need a line down the middle of the road. It's 18 foot wide, and he said you can take any amount of traffic on Marco Road.
And we still don't even use as much as they do on a Monday morning, pre-COVID for commuters. So.
Look at Hess Road.
But we're getting back to the original subject I was commenting on. We are full. I mean, I don't know why 60 head of cattle and 600 hot plates, 15 acres of barley, and 200 acres of hay does not make us a farm. That's why they created this law, the Maryland Class 8 Farm Brewer's License, and we are following that law to a T. I couldn't follow it anymore. It's just we became popular. People love this place. The past 2 weekends, we've done an incredible job. We have car parkers to stick to our 2 acres of parking. There has not been one issue anywhere on the road. Everybody's happy. I mean, it's been beautiful. It couldn't go more perfectly. I mean, people come out and take pictures with the horses and the cows. I don't know what else to say to make it that this is, like I said, and we'd have never done this if the guys didn't come out and I explained all this to them 2 years ago and said, this is what we're doing, and it was approved. So I don't know what else I could possibly say.
Ryan Frank commented that you can see the cattle in the picture right now.
Top left-hand corner.
Mark Daschel submitted the question, where is the barley planted? From Chris Mudd. The zoning de novo appeal is completely separate from this case. Judge Barungan even made that finding in the original case in 2018. He saw this easement as completely different. And it is the Ag Board, the Ag Board should look at whether this 2 acres will interfere with the ag use on the farm, and it will not. Mark Daschel, where is the hay planted? So, John, do you or the board have any additional questions? Or Joe, can you unmute?
Does the board have any questions or comments on this subject?
No.
Okay. Hearing none, I'll recommend to the Ag Board to table the issue until we have more time to review all written comments. I need a motion and a second on that, please.
I'll motion to table the issue until we receive the documentation that's being reviewed now.
Do I hear a second on that?
I second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Table the issue until a future meeting.
Can we, so who made the second to the motion? Was it Holly or Brenda?
Brenda did.
Brenda. And then can we make sure that we hear from each of you? It didn't come through. Did you all vote in approval?
I did, yes.
Brenda and Holly?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the matter is tabled until a future meeting. We will keep the, I guess folks can submit further comments to the Land Pres email. And we will take it up at a future meeting after everything has been reviewed.
Okay, Baltimore County permits and development, there is nothing. Any status of easement transactions / inspections?
Yes, so we have one easement still pending for the FY 2019 cycle of mouth. We have 7 pending for the FY 20 cycle. 4 baselines have recently been completed or in the process of being completed. 2 of those are scheduled for closing, so we are moving forward with that slate of pending easements. We have 2 county easements that are in the process of moving forward. We will move further down our list of the approved properties for the county easements after the mouth FY 21 offers are announced, which we are expecting at the end of this month. Also a reminder that the FY 22 deadline for the mouth program is April 30th. 2 other items. One, just a reminder again that your financial disclosures are due April 30th. Please submit those. It is all online now. You should have received the emails with those, with that link. If you have any issue with that, please let me know. I'll be forwarding an email to all of the board members. A reminder that we do have a board training August 3rd on the public, our ethic laws training. And I also forward an email summarizing that board or summarizing that law for the board's review. That's important, obviously, for the board to be aware of all of this information. We wanted to, our next meeting is May 12th, and we did, so with the next round of the mouth cycle application deadline nearing, we will be soon ranking the farms for that cycle and would like the board's input on how we do that. Last year, obviously, we went fully virtual for the first time. This year, we will probably primarily be doing that virtually. In previous years, board members went out and visited all of the farms. We won't be able to do it in that same way this year, but wanted input from the board. I think staff will visit each farm. I didn't know if board members might be interested in breaking up the list and maybe getting out a board member or 2 to each site to see the farms, or if there are certain things that you would like the staff to look at when we go on site. You can let us know. I guess we can gather if you don't have comments now, we can gather your thoughts over the next few weeks as we prepare for that process. but we wanted to put it out there for your input. And Joe has a large slate of monitoring visits that we will be preparing for over the next couple of months. That is all that I have.
Okay, does that cover the miscellaneous information also?
Yes.
And up for a question for me, what month do the farm visits start? I mean, that we may or may not do live. Is that gonna be a June, July thing?
So the ranking is due by the end of June, so we would do them in May and
Right.
beginning of June.
Okay. And our comments on that will be at our next meeting. And how we want to go about doing that, whether it's virtual or.
Yeah, I mean, and you can, I can send out an email just to gather your thoughts. It's not an
One
official.
person might want to, you mean like we could take one person with the staff, kind of look at it or not?
Yeah, like perhaps we could meet on site.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Just getting a feel for it. Okay, any questions from the board? If
No.
not, our next meeting is May 12th. I guess it'll be a virtual meeting also. And thank you, Mrs. West, for your input this evening. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. It was my pleasure. It's all very interesting to me.
Thank you.
And my granddaddy was a cotton farmer, just for the record, Dan Yonder. And hello to
All
Mr.
right.
Steve Meyer.
Hey, Nancy.
I'm
Hey,
well,
Steve.
Steve. I'm well.
Okay, well then I guess we can adjourn the meeting then. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you.